Das würde zu diesem Ganzen passen von wegen Kirche, Divine, wir sind heilig und er ist so heilig, deswegen kann er blinder trotzdem sehen. Oh, it's you guys. Dr. Thomas and the lady from Crossbar Times. Good to see you two again. Dwayne, Toe, it's been quite some time. Seems I just missed you on errand, like ship passing in the night, aren't we? Yeah, guys and Rosine told us you've been there. So, who's your friend over here? I've seen you around, but I don't think we've ever actually spoken with eyes. He must be blind.
I had better make a formal introduction.
Jetzt hatten wir doch schon mal dies.
I am Marcel Nielsen, freelance journalist.
Ja. Als ob. Of course, I already heard all about you. The redoubtable Miss Herschel, Class 7 and the Archer Chevalier alike. Or perhaps it would be more accurate to call you the ultimate sacrifice of Great Twilight. How do you know that? No one thinks this is business. Marcel taught me everything I know about journalism. He's even won the Pulitzer Prize several years in a row at that. He's covered the mysterious incidents in Liberal, the DG Colt incident, even the annexation of Crossbell. Wow, that's an impressive resume. I remember hearing about you, but what are you doing here with Grace and Instructor Thomas? Well, first off, allow me to apologize for not helping you during that little incident on the Pantagruel. You see, there was a certain something I had been searching for at the time. An artifact passed down to the Imperial family, the final volume of the Black Records. Oh, you mean the secret book you and Ween were deciphering? Between flame and earth, the wavering darkness begins to spin the tale of the end. First, the conflict of the great god of the second pillar. Second, the fusion of earth and flame. Third, the beginning of a 1,000-year city and the acceptance of the Graal. Fourth, the disappearance of the holy beast and the catastrophe of the whispering dragon. Fifth, the recapture of the capital and the Vermilion curse. Sixth, the Lion's War and the sacrifice of the Holy Maiden. Seventh, the appearance of a giant pillar in the north and the unwanted child. Eighth, the sacrifice of a village and the 100 Days campaign. Ninth, the great blue tree to the east and the appearance of a cursed castle. Thus, the 1,000-year-old wish was fulfilled from the sacrifice made and the ancient blood flows. The path to the Graal of Erebor shall open, when the tainted holy beast appears by the blade of world's end and its blood fills the Graal. The great twilight shall fall upon the land. Ich wette mit dir, im Japanischen hätte die perfekt gereimt. So there's actually more to it than that. That's what His Majesty told me when I visited him at St. Ursula. There's an additional volume relating what will happen after Great Twilight. Sadly, however, His Majesty never read it himself. Oh, it can record even the future. That's artifact for you. They operate on a whole different kind of logic. Oh, that's that about the recluse cube back in the ball. Whoosh, right over my head. I think all of us are at a loss over it, to tell you the truth. Lucky for us, Mr. Nielsen's already gotten hold of the last volume, right? Huh? Oh, right on the money. My, this must be work of the A-Leaf School's famous unclouded eye technique, no? It's as you say, I possess the fun volume. I took a month of searching all throughout the Empire. Deswegen ist der rumgemarschiert hier. And curiously enough, though my own eyes are themselves clouded, I can still read the content of the book. That this is the final volume of the Black Records is an unmistakable fact. Naturally, once I heard about it, I set about negotiating a trade. In the end, we settled on a very simple condition. All you have to do, Green, is give Marcel an interview. Huh? Me? But don't worry, I don't actually plan on publishing it. I've already pieced together a few basic facts from your lineage alone, as well as the unfortunate position you've been placed in. Nevertheless, it's in my nature to seek out the truth. I want to find out exactly what's going on here in Urbonia. And what better way to get to that truth than to ask one of the people directly involved? Everything I've heard puts you at the center of all the strange happenings that have occurred here over the past few years. I'd be happy to give you the last of the black records in return for answering a few of my questions. Wien. Goodness me, Wazy told me you were perceptive, but it's rather unnerving just how much you already know. What do you say, Wien? The decision ultimately lies with you. The war is only 5 days away. This could help allay the situation if only a little. I guess so. Ich würde sagen ja, weil das ist wahrscheinlich die ganze Sidequest dann. Alright, you can ask me anything you want. You have my thanks. I really appreciate this, Wien. Hey, do you mind if I sit in on the interview? I'm joining in too. No journalist worth a salt would let a chance like this get away. Toad, Thomas and Grace remained in the room where everyone else left to wait outside. Thus did Wien's interview with the blind journalist then begin. Now we understand that Thomas was your history teacher, and given Miss Herschel's grandfather's expertise, I'm certain she knows her fair share as well. So I'd like to press right on and get to the heart of the matter if that's alright with you. Yeah, sure. I have to admit, I'm feeling a little nervous. You can go ahead and start whenever you're ready. Can't let my nerves get to me. Let's begin with a quick synopsis then. As it stands, the Great Twilight phenomenon is currently enveloping the whole of the Empire. The force behind it is called Operation Jormungand, while the resistance against them is referred to as Mirage. Moreover, the key factors of this entire dilemma are the 7 Divine Knights, as well as the 2 Septarians they had been forged from. A great number of the implications behind these events are too much for humanity at large to handle. They make the history of our entire species feel trivial, meaningless even. But if we seek out these truths with an open mind, I believe there's more awaiting us than mere existential dread. What's happening here goes beyond just Erebonia. There are a myriad of different factors at play. There are? I see. Sounds like this is about to get deep. Just how much does this guy know? One of these factors is, of course, the Erebonian Empire. Thanks in part to the Arnor family owing allegiance to neither the clans of Earth nor Fire, they quickly rose to prominence. Thus today Erebonia stands as one of the oldest nation-states in Cimmeria. With the help of the Septian Church, it quickly expanded both its territories and its influence. That spectacular growth was also what gave birth to the Empire's unique system of class, all of which culminated 250 years ago with the War of Alliance. There are plenty of intriguing rumors regarding what went on behind the scene, but that's not quite what concerns us at the moment. What does concern us is what happened in the wake of a war, something that's exerting an influence on the world even today. Do you know what it is I'm referring to, Wien? I think so. What significant change occurred after the War of Alliance? The Post-War Renaissance müsste das gewesen sein. Wobei Weapon Technology, das müsste später kommen. Das müsste knapp 100 Jahre sein. Müsste das angefangen haben, vor unserer Zeit. Post-War Renaissance. You mean right at Post-War Renaissance, right? A whole lot of innovations were introduced during that time. Stuff people couldn't even dream of back in the Dark Ages. It helped make the country what it is today, making huge leap forward in law, economic and culture alike. The founding of Source Military Academy is a perfect example. That's right, because anyone can enroll regardless of class or nationality. It helped a lot of commoners get into the Imperial Army or obtain government posts. Think about it like this. You could also say it indirectly led to the formation of the noble and reformist factions, and even the Civil War itself 2 years back. Right, the noble faction would have never been so militant if those class distinctions hadn't been so pronounced to begin with. That likely had repercussions beyond the army and the government as well. Very good, it seems we're more or less all on the same page. Let's move on to the factors that work outside of Erebonia then. Now, I realize that's a rather broad description to use, so for our purposes we'll narrow it down to Liburn, Northumbria, Jerai, Nord, and Crossbell. Calvert also borders the country, of course, but it really deserves to be in a category of its own. Whether the North Highland count as part of the Empire is up for contention, and Crossbell has been a contested territory for hundreds of years. But these territories weren't under Urbanian rule when the Empire was first founded. Even so, their impact on imperial matters back then was by no means small. We have, for instance, the North Highlands, where the Imperial Prince made his travels, as well as Liberl, where the massacre at Hamel sparked the 100 Days' War and thus conflict between the nobles and reformists. Of course, it goes without saying that those particular situations were instigated by Erebonia itself. But there was one specific event, not directly connected to the Empire, that still had a great influence on its future. Does anything spring to mind, Reen? Let's see. What highly influential event occurred outside of the Empire? Guardian statue in Nord, the Northambrian disaster was Major's resignation. Müsste das Northambrian Disaster sein mit diesem Salzding oder dieser Krankheit, was da war. The only thing I know that fits the bill is the salt pail, the one that disappeared during the Northambrian Disaster. Ich hatte recht, es hat wirklich dieses Salzding. Ich wusste nicht mehr, was war, das war irgendein Salzding. We still don't know exactly what caused it, but it definitely wasn't the Empire. A natural disaster like that would surely have had far-reaching consequences. That's true. It set off the sequence of events that led to Northumbria changing from a principality to an autonomous state. A lot of refugees fled to Erebonia, and the Northern Jaegers started staging all sorts of resistance efforts. And Northumbria's troubles spilled over to its neighbors in the west. The riots resulting economic hardship were just what the Empire, or rather Chancellor Osborne, needed to turn his people against Kurth's grandfather. Yeah, that's exactly right. I see, when you think of it that way, you can really start to glean the wider impact that disaster had on the world. Even the Imperial Liberation Front's creation can be traced all the way back to it. Quite right. It's an event that certainly deserves our consideration if we aim to properly unravel the goings-on of the Empire. Let us conclude by moving over to the happenings to the east. Again, to narrow things down, we specify east to mean Crossbell, now part of the Empire and the Republic of Calvert. We may end up bringing other powers on the continent into discussion, but for now, let's focus on these two. Calvert has fought with Erebonia for control of Crossbell for centuries now. About 100 years back, the monarchy was overthrown and the Republic established. Then 72 years ago, Calvert and Erebonia negotiated shared rules of Crossbell, effectively turning it into an autonomous state. But some 30 or so years before that, Crossbell was actually a part of the Empire. Were you aware of that? Come to think of it, I think we did touch upon that in our history classes, if only just barely. I guess an Imperial school wouldn't want to give a lot of attention to losing a territory. We still have the old Governor General's residence from when we were first under Imperial rule too. There were rumors the old pro-Erebonian speaker took it as his mansion. He ended up holding some real shady auctions in there. Omissions like this are a common story, I'm afraid. For the Empire, the shared jurisdiction represented a loss, a humiliation. Thus, they gave it less and less prominence in their histories over time in an attempt to cover it up and diminish its importance. I see. Yeah, that explains it. The rapid post-war renaissance spurred Calvert on to make a great number of societal changes, many of which led to them increasing their own sphere of influence, eventually resulting in the dispute over Crossbell. The tension between the two nations has festered throughout the generations, especially on the side of the Erebonians, because bringing all that animosity to the forefront. Calvert's revolution was a time of rapid change and upheaval. These things are never exactly simple, but there was one force that was instrumental in overthrowing the old social order. How's your knowledge of international history, Wien? Do you know what it was? Well, what force helped overthrow the Calvert monarchy? Immigrant nations done from the Septian Church. Es gibt, also wir wissen halt von keinen Ländern, die noch weiter östlich liegen als Calvert, deswegen würde ich das mal ausschließen. Deswegen würde ich sagen, die Septian Church, die Hauptstadt liegt ja auch in Calvert davon. No, but not if dann werden wahrscheinlich die Nationen von Osten. Okay. A lot of people immigrated to Calvert around that time. They still do to this day, in fact. Indeed, at the time, Calvert was verging on the brink of an economic collapse. Ich kann euch jetzt schon sagen, den Charakter wieder in schwarz sehen. Wir werden safe in Calvert ab mehr über den erfahren. Wer auch immer es sein wird, wir werden mehr über den erfahren. It's said that the merchants moving in from the east gave the revolutionary forces enough financial aid to tip the scales in their favor. There are also rumors that Eastern assassins were sent after major leaders on both sides. So that's how the flow of people from the east affected Calvert's revolution. That revolution led to cross-belt autonomous statehood, which in turn led to its struggle for independence and subsequent re-annexation. Leading further still to the intervention of the Calverdian Special Forces just last year. I'm starting to see how it all connects to Operation Jormungand and Mil Mirage. Yeah, there's more behind the scenes dealing to this than just erroneous. This isn't really an interview, is it, Mr. Nielsen? It's more like a debriefing. Thanks to you, we now have a much firmer grasp of the continent's past, present, and future. All these events laid the groundwork for the curse of the Empire to take root. The way you put it, even my becoming a sacrifice for the Great Twilight sounded like it was inevitable. Ah, so that's what this was all about, Mr. Nielsen. Well, you are a key figure in this, after all. I simply felt you had a right to know. Though talking to and discussing our various theories was rather enjoyable too. This is the final volume of the Black Records. Oh, it's relatively short compared to the others, so it shouldn't take you too long to decipher. In any case, you have my thanks for volunteering your time. Now if you'll excuse me, I must go off in search of my next story. Wait, you're leaving? How? I've arranged passage with one of the transport passing through from Aragon. It'll take me as far as Milsante. I'm sure I can find myself a train from there. Wow, that's pretty thorough. Do you mind if we tag along? It's just too good to pass up. I've got to tell Rains about this. Well, it looks like this is where we part ways. But I expect we'll meet again. Perhaps with our leader present next time around. Haha, an appealing prospect to be sure. Thanks for everything, Mr. Nielsen. I feel like my understanding is finally up to speed. I'll try to take a wider perspective of what we're getting ourselves into going forward. Yes, thank you. This has all been very enlightening. The pleasure was all mine. Now then, I bid you farewell. Wer ist der? Ist ja anscheinend dann doch nicht der Chef der Kirche, sondern das hätte Thomas nicht gesagt, vielleicht mit unserem Leader. Aber er hat unserem gesagt, ne? Vielleicht ist er trotzdem Teil der Kirche. Nur halt dann doch nicht der Leader. Wobei Thomas das auch im Sinne von our, im Sinne von meine Kirche, wo wir mehrere drin sind. Thanks so much, Reen. I get right on translating the final volume. It'll take me a couple of days, but I'll try to get it done before you have to leave. I appreciate it. Will you be heading back to your Merkaba then? Not yet. I need to go discuss some things with Rizzy. Plus, our ship is still in need of some repairs. Thanks again, Father Thomas. You know me, I'm just happy to help. Take care, instructor. Hopefully we meet again sooner instead of later. Well, we did spend 2 years together, so it has to count for something, no? Now then, everyone, until we meet again. Take care in the meantime. Phew, that really was a loaded conversation, huh? But everything we learned from it made it worthwhile, wouldn't you say? Yeah, some of it was hard to pause, but I feel like I've got my head together now. I won't let all this talk of prophecies and destiny hold me back. Whatever black records say will happen, I'll face it head on. That's the spirit, and remember, all of us will be right there by your side. Boah, ich hab meinen Mund fusselig geredet, ey. Nielsen provided the last volume of the Black Records. Exactly how did the journalist come by it and how much does he know? Gute Frage, frage ich mich auch. Ulster. Sunny spot in. Gasco Store. Direkt wird dir wieder mit mir fehlen. Warum nicht? So. Steinrose Distillerie. Auf der Chapel. Da ist nix. Das ist auch nix, okay. Ich kann in Leafs rumlaufen. Ja, wie viel denn noch? Wie viel noch? Sarah, was machst du denn hier? Interessant, dass sie selbst diese Mini-Quest aus dem letzten Teil hier quasi mit eingebaut haben und man jetzt weiß, warum. Er hat ja gesagt, dass er wegen irgendwelchen Bracern auch in die Bracer-Gilde will. Und finde ich schön, dass man jetzt erfahren hat, dass die beiden Bracer sind.
Sure you can take me?
Aber natürlich Cheryl. Hat sie gerade absolut gar nichts gemacht? Was hat er für? Ah, okay. Irgendwie wirkt Shower gerade echt nicht so schwer.
Looks like you've got a real knack for this.
Das war überraschend einfach. Oh. Oh. Ha! Ich hab doch nichts verpasst. Dann habe ich jetzt schon wieder 30.000 Pop-ups auf meinem Handy. So, erstmal alles zumachen. Oh. Ich vermute mal, ich kann es nur einmal kriegen, ne? Ich tausche es einfach mal ein. Ich hoffe, das war jetzt das Richtige zu tun und ja. Wenn nicht, habe ich halt Pech. Warum hat Randy eine Jukebox in seinem Zimmer, wo du Mira einwerfen musst? Ist das die sieht ein... Das Poster hatte gerade ein bisschen was von Tio aus dem Augenwinkel. Bald sind gleich mit der Tour durch, dann können wir endlich mal weiter Sidequest machen. Oder dann die Zeit kurz hier, wo ich wahrscheinlich auch wieder 3 Jahre reden darf. Ecco, è mistante. Ja, dass wir bisher auch noch nicht in Heimdall waren. Wir haben bisher in jedem Spiel in Heimdall, nur in dem hier noch nicht. White Birch Inn. Nielsen Chapel oder Chapel. Und das private Haus. Warum kann ich hier hin? Okay. Lieber grad mal heilen, bevor hier gleich irgendwas passiert, was ich nicht will. Das Demuri Eisenhaare für Reen? Wie kann ich mir das vorstellen? Hat er jetzt zackige Haare? Ah. Er hat Osborns Haare. Okay. Dachte schon. Ach ja, genau, das ist die Quest von Dings hier. Die Quest von Valerie.
A powerful foe. Ready yourselves.
I've made it this far. Should be right in front of me. You're always such a hard worker, Tatiana. Instructor Reen, Instructor Toa, and everyone else too. Valerie told me about what was going on, but I didn't think you'd all come here in person. We actually meant to come sooner. Looks like we're a little late. Source of the noise is just up ahead, right? Yes, I think so. With all the monsters around, it's hard for me to get close on my own, though. If you could watch my back, that'd be great. Not good, let's get moving and put an stop to this noise. Right, to begin with, we just need to follow the road east. Okay.
Everyone ready?
Habe ich schon gescannt. Also gut, Reen, du kannst jetzt deinen Spar. 5000 Leben nur? What the fuck?
Everyone okay?
Das war ja fast schon eine Verschwendung jetzt gerade vom Escort. Thank you so much for agreeing to help. I've got to say, you've gotten a lot braver since we last saw you. I agree. As an instructor, seeing your students mature and come into their own, just about one of the great feelings there is. No, I still have a long way to go. No need to be modest. So, which way do we go next? Alright, we take the north path at the fork in the road. But be careful, we have no idea what might be up ahead. Got it. dead end. I'm sure this is the place. That's what the reading says. Huh? You two, get back. Oh, hi. An Ouroboros archasm? It must have cloaked itself and laid in wait to ambushes, but looked like it's short-circuiting. Oh shit, here we go again. Sorry, the black Pleroma, just like before, fine, then we'll just have to take it down.
Be on guard. It's strong. Ha! My turn. Yeah. Let's go. Tuh.
I'll handle this. Huh.
Yeah. An opening. Let's go.
Hat Kurt gerade mit dem Konter 24.000 Schaden gemacht?
It's down. An opening. I'll end it. Good teamwork out there, Kurt. I'm always glad to be of assistance, Instructor.
Phew, looks like that did the trick. I'd hate to think that what could have happened if you all hadn't been there. I'm just glad you're alright. How's the noise reading look now? I'll check. Just like I thought, the noise is gone. Not getting any harm from reading this area now. An archasm causing orbital noise. Starting to see a pattern here. Looks like it. Well, whatever it means, at least we have both Luis and Tatiana. In that case, shall we go back to the Courageous 2 and give Valerie an update? Jo, okay, können wir machen. Aber wir haben einfach schon 3 Sidequests geschafft, ohne überhaupt mit den 3 anzufangen, die ich machen wollte. Oder machen soll. Thank you for your assistance, Doctorine. I mean, we would have been no match for the archasms on our own. Thanks to you that we were able to resolve the problem so swiftly. Nonsense. You succeeded because of your own hard work. It had nothing to do with me. So it was definitely a surprise to see that not even archasms are immune to the Great Twilight effect. Moreover, it was also the source of our communications issue. I never would have guessed. Yeah, and if we had put off investigating it, it could have made the situation much worse. Luis, Tatiana, and Valerie, I just want to say again, you were all incredible out there. No sweat. Your praise makes me feel glad I gave it my all. You took the words right out of my mouth. Nice. Luis und Tatiana 1. As one of the 3 aces of the military finance division, Luis assisted in identifying the source of the noise wave. Compared to before, Tatiana is now much more confident talking to people of all the students she's come before this. Kann mal gucken, kann ich hier irgendwie nochmal was abschicken? Battle Notes. Bücher.
Let me take a... Wow.
Tatsächlich, Bücher. Aber Bücher habe ich fast vergessen. Imperial Chronicle Issue 8 mache ich wie immer, lese ich mir selber leise durch und ihr könnt pausieren, wenn ihr länger dafür braucht. Nice. Und hier haben wir auch nochmal ein neues Kapitel. Da auch immer wie immer. Bei denen, jetzt werde ich irgendwann alles mal gebündelt machen. Aber auch interessant, dass das anscheinend in Remiferia spielt. Das heißt, wir werden irgendwann doch auch mal was mehr über Remiferia erfahren. Im zukünftigen Spiel. Wobei ich schon gehört habe, dass angeblich 3 and 9 die Novel sein soll, die Hajimari, was Hajimari, glaube ich, hieß, ne? Nicht Hajime no Hajima. Hajimari auf jeden Fall. Das Spiel, was in Japan schon raus ist, dass das wohl Ding sein soll, dass das wohl die Novel dazu sein soll. Viel Monster hier mittlerweile, 306 von 490. Legaler Byroad. Gucken wir uns erstmal darum. Ah, okay, da oben.